Can you, yeah. So we will start with a quick recap of what we have learned last week. So last week we have done the first session of emotional intelligence, which was getting in touch with the real you. Can any of you recall what we have learned last week? First thing that we spoke about.
What is emotional intelligence?
Yeah, we spoke about what is emotional intelligence. Even before that, we tried to define what emotions are. And we've also seen why emotions are important. Why should we even know about them? Yeah, because they underlie many important things like decision making, our mood, our interactions. They rule many things. Yeah, big decisions are made based on emotions. So that's why it's very important to be aware of them. And so we have tried to understand what is emotional intelligence, how it is a very significant factor in determining success in one's personal and professional lives. And we try to understand what are the 4 components of emotional intelligence. Being, what are the 4 components? Yeah, does somebody remember? What are the 4 components of emotional intelligence that we learned last week? Nobody remembers? Self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. So last week we have discussed all about self-awareness, yeah, to be aware of one's own emotions and its significance. So today we are going to learn about the second session with many interesting experiments that have been done in the history of this world and their direct relation to self-regulation. And we'll also learn about some very interesting, never heard of stories from the Puranas. So stay tuned. There's something very nice coming up. So firstly, yeah, I will start with a quick question. When a person is regulated, what is the outcome? Yeah, when a person has adequate self-regulation, what is the outcome?
He becomes more aware and his anger reduces.
Okay, more self-regulation implies less anger or more in control of one's anger. That's what somebody says. Okay, more?
We are aware of what we are doing, like what decisions do we do, and we make our decisions based on whatever values we have learned till today.
Okay, so it helps in better decision making. Okay, in fact, regulation is in fact the pause between the stimulus and response. That's very good. Okay. Okay, let's go the other way around. What is the result of being unregulated? Or what is the result of having a lack of self-regulation? Yeah, result of a lack of self-regulation.
Unwanted tensions.
Tensions, okay. Stress, you mean to say. Okay, lack of self-regulation leads to stress, okay.
We don't understand the rhythm of things, what's going on, and in the natural way, how are things going, moving.
Okay, we are less in touch with the synchrony or harmony of our surroundings. Okay, fine. Oh, very deep, very thoughtful answers. Okay, more. Okay, lack of self-regulation leads to many things, starting from fights. A person might lose friends. A person might end up in divorces, or a person might give in to any temptation that is right in front of them, or inability to maintain a diet, inability to maintain a routine, inability to maintain a regulated lifestyle. 2 big and very big repercussions. Like, for example, in the year 2009, Serena Williams, if you know of the story, she has lost the US Open because she had lost her calm at the right and crucial time in sports. Yeah, Serena Williams is a famous tennis player. Yeah, and also there's a historical event of Zinedine Zidane, yeah, the famous French football player who has given into anger, and because of which the whole France has lost the World Cup of the football match of that particular year. So from simple things to big things, yeah, all these can result from a lack of self-regulation. In fact, very extensive studies have been done to understand the role of self-regulation. In fact, the researchers have found a very interesting fact. The interesting fact is that when they have asked people about what is the virtue that you value the most, people spoke so much about, honesty, truthfulness, loyalty, etc. But nobody spoke about self-control. And the other way around, when the researchers have questioned and asked about what is that one value lacking which you're suffering in life, so many people have answered it is lack of self-control. So that's the reason there are more answers to, what is a repercussion of a lack of self-control. People understand when it is absent, but when it is there and when it has to be cultivated actively, people don't take it in a very active sense. Yeah. So here is one interesting finding. Okay, so before we get into the topic, let's understand what exactly is self-regulation. Yeah, what is the outcome of being self-regulated? Let's look into the definition. Someone who has good emotional self-regulation has the ability to know their emotion in check. Okay, they have the ability to keep their emotions in check. They can resist impulsive behaviors that might worsen their situation, and they can cheer themselves up when they are feeling down. So important, right? So people who have emotional self-regulation, two things: they resist impulsive behavior, which can worsen their situation. Like, for example, internally they have a push of a very negative feeling, a negative emotion, but they have the competence to not let it translate into a bad behavior or a bad reaction. Yeah. So that is what is called impulsive behavior. So, and another thing is they have the ability to cheer themselves up when they're feeling really down. Sometimes it's, if you're staying in a group, it's very contagious. Let's say 4 of you or 5 of you are sitting, and then a person comes and joins the group. And the 5th person who comes in is in a very upset mood, very sad mood, very depressed mood. Don't you think it impacts the whole atmosphere? People start looking at them, why are you gloomy, and they don't answer. I mean, it just changes the dynamics of the whole environment. On the other hand, let's say, a few of you are sitting and working together, and suddenly a very joyful and bubbly and lively and cheerful person comes in and joins the group. It brings so much of cheer and joy, excitement, and liveliness to the whole group. Yeah, so that's how much a person can impact the whole group by their presence, and the mood of that person can impact the whole group. So a person who is self-regulated, they have the ability to cheer themselves up when they are feeling down. So that's the importance. So I will tell you about an interesting experiment that has taken place regarding self. This is very, very, how many of you all know of or heard of this test, Marshmallow Test? Does anybody know?
Yes, ma'am.
Who knows? Okay, Aarti knows. Okay, because Aarti is living, she's working for some company. This is a very famous thing, probably she's come across in many presentations. But anybody else know of this Marshmallow Test? Okay.
I heard some friends ago.
I have heard, Mataji.
Okay, you've heard. Fine. So let's define. Let's define what this Marshmallow Test is and try to find out what are these interesting findings. So what is a marshmallow? So marshmallow is it's a kind of sweet. It's like The jellies that we have in India, it's something like that. Especially kids really love this marshmallow. It's something that's so irresistible for them. Yeah, in India, it's like gulab jamun, something that kids find irresistible. If they see that, they really want to eat it. Okay, that's a marshmallow. So there is a scientist called Walter Mischel who has conducted an experiment. And what was this experiment? They have invited children into a room. Okay, and in that room, each of the child was given a marshmallow. Yeah, marshmallow is exactly like the size of the jelly. That we get these jellies, right? It's pink and yellow and red in color and orange in color. It's like tastes juicy and little sour and yeah. So each of the child was given a marshmallow in front of them, like what I've shown you in the picture. And they were given an instruction. Listen carefully. What was that instruction? That instruction was, here's a marshmallow right in front of you. If you have it, you can have one right now. But if you wait for some time until we come back, you will get two. This was what was instructed to kids. And mind you, all these children were 4-year-old children. Okay. So the instruction was, if you want to get the marshmallow, you will get one right away. But if you can wait for some time, we will come back and give you two. That is a reward for waiting for some time. And what was it sometime? It was about 15 minutes, and in some experiments, it was 20 minutes. Okay. So this was the instruction that was given to all the kids. Yeah, the same instruction. The instruction was given, and the person who was conducting the experiment left. Okay. And after 15 minutes, the same person has come back. And to those children who have resisted eating the marshmallows, the extra marshmallow was given. That means they all got two each. So then they have noted down the names of each and every child who's part of this experiment. And, and they have noted which child has immediately taken and which child waited for some time and got two. Okay. So which child showed more self-control here? The one who had one or the one who had two?
The one who had two.
Obviously, yeah. So the one who could wait for 15 minutes for the reward, okay, obviously showed more self-regulation. So interestingly, these kids were observed over a period of time, over a long period of time, and their behavior, their academics, yeah, their overall performance in school, and later on the kind of colleges they got into and their own personal lives, all have been monitored for over a long period of time. And in fact, the person who has conducted this experiment, that Mr. Walter Mischel, his two daughters were studying in the same school in which he has conducted the experiment. So he has more closely followed up each of them who have, kind of had one and two. So the interesting finding was that the first group of children who could not resist and who immediately took the marshmallow without waiting, they are the people who had lesser grades at school. And they are the kids who were given into more lowly habits at a later date of drug abuse, alcoholism, bullying, antisocial behavior. And as they grew up, they've also been monitored that they had lower grades in their SAT. In fact, they've found a difference of almost a score of 210 between this first group and second group for their SAT exam. SAT is like MSET of or NEET and IIT exam of India in the US. Yeah, that was the marked difference they have found. And they've also found that the people who could resist, these children who resisted, grew up into adults who showed more competence in maintaining their physical health. They had better health, and they had better relationships and stronger relationships. And they also evolved to be a family which was maintained as a two-parent family with children. While on the other hand, the first group of children who could not resist, most of them turned out to be, families which are single parent. And also they also ended up in prison houses. This was how, dramatic the readings are. I mean, the findings were, when they so something as simple as, ability to resist a small thing as a child, it went a long way in showing some, interesting facts in the behavior as adults. So this is how important self-regulation as a quality is. And it's something that's, okay, somebody comes with as a natural trait, probably it's genetic, it comes through genes. But also it is also a quality that can be cultivated. It's not that we are born with. There are two important factors that determine success according to researchers. What are those two important factors? Intelligence and self-control. Intelligence as such cannot be changed because a person is born with a certain degree of IQ, can be honed and polished as such. But self-control is something that can be learned, and that can be attained, and that can be mastered, through regular practice. So this is the importance and significance of self-regulation. So the findings of this study, what do they prove? That a person who is self-regulated in their behavior, in their ability to resist temptations. Temptations, a study says that a person spends quarter of the day, that is at least about 4 hours, simply, trying to resist a desire. The desire might be just to go and watch TV, or the desire may be just to stop working and relax, or the desire might be to eat something, while a person is at work, or the desire might be to do something else other than the given task. Like, for example, if you are sitting in your classroom and the lecture is boring, what is the immediate desire a person has to resist? To get out of the class and do something better, watch a nice video, or just go to the canteen and have a good time with friends. That's a desire one has to constantly resist as you're sitting in the classroom. So it is said that a person spends a quarter of a day, that is at least 4 hours, a quarter of the wakeful time, considering the wakeful time is 16 hours at least. So they spend at least 4 hours simply resisting desires. So that's the, human functioning. So that is why it's important. Self-regulation is a trait that is not meant to just meet emergency situations, but it is a muscle that has to be, just like when you go and work out in gyms, the muscle builds gradually. So self-regulation is a practice that comes over a period of time and becomes innate in one's nature. And that pays off in terms of making wise choices and leading a good life. So that's how self-regulation helps. So basically, self-regulation is of two types. These two types are emotion. There is an emotional self-regulation and there is a behavioral self-regulation. So what is emotional self-regulation? It's simply, it involves the control of, at least influence over your emotions. You're able to control your own emotion. Like, for example, it's a self-test for each of you. Let's say you're in a very bad mood, or you're feeling a lot of anger within, but you're able to control it and you're able to respond in a respectful way. Like, as you see in the picture, there's somebody who's taunting so badly, let's say for something that you have done. But the girl is angry, but somehow she's controlling it and she's trying to respond in a respectful way. If you were able to do that, that means you could have some good amount of emotional self-regulation. But you're unable to tolerate it and you've bursted out and you've blurted out and you've responded in a very violent way. That means a person has lower emotional self-regulation. On the other hand, what is behavioral self-regulation? Behavioral self-regulation means it's the ability to act in your long-term best interest. Like, for example, every day the alarm rings in the morning. So a person knows that, okay, now it's time for me to get up, get ready and go to college or go to work. So, I can't take a chance because I have a lot of responsibilities in life. So a person turns off the alarm and immediately gets up to work. So that's behavioral self-regulation. Yeah, for a person who cannot do that, turns off the alarm, sleeps for longer, goes late to office, that is a sign of low behavioral self-regulation. Okay, this is something, a self-testing parameter. How much are you more, emotionally self-regulated or behaviorally self-regulated? So even the self-regulation is an aspect which also comes in Bhagavad-gita, where when Arjuna asks Krishna, yeah, Sita prajnasya ka bhasha, kim asita vrajeta kim. Yeah. So he asks, what are the signs of a person who is, what are the signs of a sage of steady mind? How does he talk? How does he behave? So Krishna answers Arjuna that, one who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the miseries, or elated when there is happiness, free from attachment, fear, and anger. He is called the stage of steady mind. Yeah, dukkeshu anudvignamana, sukeshu vigataspriha. So these are the details that we come across in the second chapter. Very beautifully explained. So, next. So we all have learned last week about, the gross body and the subtle body. So getting back to that concept. So there are some qualities which I spoke about, which are innate to us, which are part of the soul. And there are qualities which are, more that are, external. So the innate qualities are beautiful because they are the part of the soul. Yeah, beautiful qualities like, next slide. Qualities like compassion, qualities like love, care, and joy, bliss. All these are the qualities of the soul. These are innate qualities. Makes a person very beautiful. There are things called acquired qualities, what you see in the red zone. Yeah. So these acquired qualities are basically, basically acquired from nature, or as a matter of adaptation to the external environment, and as a matter of the modes that we are operating in. Those are acquired qualities. Yeah, depending upon which modes we are operating in, these qualities can be like, jealousy, competitive nature, or, anxiety, etc., etc. Those are the acquired qualities. So what are these acquired bad qualities and how they can be classified? Yeah. So these can be classified as simple, serious, and grave. Let's see what are the simple acquired bad qualities. So one quality is being attached to my opinion. Yeah, we come across this. We cannot stand somebody who has an opinion different from ours. Like, for example, we all decide to go for an outing, let's say, for a holiday to a particular place. And we're discussing in a group where to go. So there are some people who strongly propose a place and they want to go only to that place. And they say everybody has to come to that place. And there are some people who are okay with it, or, they have their opinion, but they're not very strong on that opinion. They're willing to change. But there are some people who are like, they're so attached to it that if you say that we have to go to some other place, they even drop coming with you. Yeah. So that's like being attached to one's opinion very seriously. They can't handle if somebody has an opinion different from theirs, or opinion different from theirs is given more weightage. So this happens in groups. Actually, most of our bad qualities are detected in groups when we come into a group. So more serious than that is being easily irritated. That is, you have a different opinion from mine, and they're like, no. They get very easily irritated, agitated. And more grave than that is to badmouth about someone to everyone. That's a kind of a very grave bad quality. Gossiping. Gossiping, especially spreading rumors about somebody. This is a very grave bad quality. Happens when we are staying around. Right now, I think from 2 years, we're a little away from these kind of things because we are staying in isolation, in lockdown. We're all living with our own selves. But generally, when we are in groups working together, or we are in a college, especially these kind of bad qualities are very prevalent. Sometimes rumors go to the extent that there are cases wherein the rumors of about somebody have spread so far, and they were such disgusting rumors that the person has actually committed the suicide, unable to bear the humiliation that came about because of those rumors. Yeah, so all these are part of acquired bad qualities. I'll talk about more. Again, simple acquired bad quality is, again, I know it all syndrome. There's some people, whatever you tell that, okay, yeah, I know it. I've heard it before. Yes, I know. They cannot accept somebody else's opinion. It's a repercussion of, being attached to one's own opinion. They have this, I know it all kind of a feeling. And there's one more, under serious bad qualities comes again, inability in team playing. As I said, I'm better off on my own. I cannot get along with others. And it's inability in team playing. So again, another grave bad qualities. I quit the team when I'm not happy. So these are people, they cannot handle teams, working in teams. If they're not happy, they quit the team. Yeah. So these are all parts of acquired bad qualities. So how do we change these bad qualities? How do we deal with these bad qualities? Because these are the things that are major obstacles in our progress or in our leading a happy and joyful life, especially when we have to, work in an environment where we have to work with a lot of people, or when we have to work in groups. These qualities disturb us so much, especially people who are sensitive and emotional. They even quit jobs. They even quit jobs because they don't know how to handle these dynamics. Yeah, these sound simple, but they have such deep significance in day-to-day life, because these are the burdens people carry home and they get accumulated, and then they don't sleep properly, and it's like it affects their health. And it's just, and many don't understand these can be dealt with a mere change of attitude. There is a way to deal with them. Yeah, and what is the way to deal with them is simply change your tab. I was discussing with some students about this. How do I change? So 3 changes for healthier relationships is change your tab. What is a tab? Change your thinking, change your behavior, and change your attitude. Yeah, change your thinking, attitude, and behavior. By changing these 3, one can actually bring a solution to any problem that has been discussed before. So let's practically see how we deal with each of this situation. For example, okay, let's start with thinking. Yeah, we said tab, thinking, attitude, and behavior. How do you bring about a change in thinking? So you bring about a change in your thinking by making a choice based on values and not on feelings. If you see, most of the choices that we make in our life is based on our feelings. That is, I feel good. Okay, let me accept it. I feel bad. Let me reject it. This is, making a choice based on feeling. And as long as we are making choices based on feelings, the outcome need not always be positive. Yeah. But when we make this choice based on values and not merely feelings, that means what is of true value, then whatever choice you make has a positive outcome, success guarantee. For example, yeah, so if you see in the picture, what is a girl thinking? What can I do to diffuse this? How did I get into this habit? This habit is nectar in the beginning, but poison at the end. This is what exactly is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to analyze your thoughts. Yeah. I refuse to let this hook me. Now I will give up bad company. I will replace it with good company. So this is about bringing about a change in your thought pattern based on values, not based on feelings. So how do you deal with the being attached to my opinion syndrome? Okay. My team members say that I don't hear their opinions. They also say that I get very upset when they present their opinions. In tomorrow's meeting, let me learn to speak less and listen more. This is how you deal with it. It all starts with the thought process. Yeah. It's not. When you go by feelings and not values, what is the thought process? The thought process is, they say that, that I don't hear their opinions. Why do they say that way? I mean, it's hurting when somebody corrects. Why do they think like that? That's it. It stops there. You don't think of correction at all. You say that they said, you get stuck at they said like that. How could they speak to me like that? It's hurting the way they pointed out to me. It stops at that. If you're simply attached to your opinion, you're not willing to correct. And even you're stuck at that feelings realm. But if you go beyond that and start thinking at the values level, yeah, the value is, I hold sacred the value of teamwork. Yeah, I hold sacred the value of self-correction and self-development. And I hold sacred the value of listening to others. So if that is a value you want to really imbibe, then you come out of that feelings shell. Yeah, you come out of the disappointment shell. Take yourself, metacognition I was talking about yesterday. Bring yourself out of that feeling. And then think about what best I can do to make the situation better. So that's when you start thinking, you start changing, you start evolving in your thought process by understanding what is required. Why are they saying that? And what can I do to improve myself? Let me listen to them. Yeah? If a person can reach this, it's a sea change in one's evolution, in one's consciousness. In this picture, it might be sounding very small and just a small adjustment in their thought pattern. But if you could actually make it, from the first one to the third one, you have actually won a big battle in your inner consciousness, for sure. And it's not so easy, because most of the time we get stuck at the feelings. Yeah, we feel something and we get caught up in that, in a cocoon of those feelings. But if you're trying to come out of that, if we can try to come out of that cocoon, by passing through that aperture of values, we can just become, fly like a butterfly, come out with flying colors when we can reach the third step. Yeah. Okay, this is how we change our thinking. Yeah. How do we change? By becoming aware of our thoughts, analyze them, and make the choice based on values and not feelings. Separate your feelings from yourself and make choices based on the higher principles, which are called values. Next one. Change your thinking by another way of dealing with thoughts is have a positive outlook. Yeah. What is a positive way of looking at it? I will surely hear others' opinion. That will improve my relationships in the long run. Okay. What's a negative outlook? Oh, just can't stand people spending long hours in meetings. I'll push and get things done my way. Yeah. So these are the people who think that, okay, my way is the only way. Okay, they keep saying a lot of things, but ultimately what I choose and what I think is good is the best. And somehow I'm going to push that. So that's the negative outlook. What's a positive outlook? Let me also listen to others' opinion. Let me understand why they have, certain choices. And let me be open enough to accommodate their choices. Yeah, that's a positive outlook. So this is how you deal with the aspect of becoming too attached to one's own opinion. So this is at the level of thought. So change your tab. This is how you can change your thoughts, thought patterns. Actually, in fact, there is a whole big methodology of psychotherapy based on just how to change your thought patterns. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy. If you go around, you find many of the CBT therapists, cognitive behavioral therapists and REBT therapists. And they really help you in a very systematic way how to, people who have long-standing problems can be helped by these professionals. But even in our day-to-day life, it's very important to be aware of, our thought processes and how by simply changing the thought patterns, we can develop a very positive outlook and lead a very positive, fulfilling, and happier lives. So the next aspect is change your attitude. Yeah, so attitude is something very deep. It's a little more difficult and it's very subtle, difficult to change, but it's not impossible. So how do we change your attitude? Like some people, what are attitudes? Like some people have these attitudes. I am what I am. I cannot change. That's an attitude. And by the way, it's a very wrong attitude. So change your attitude. How do you change the attitude? By you should accept responsibility. Accepting responsibility is the key to change your attitude. Yeah. So understand what are these bad attitudes, becoming aware of them, and by accepting responsibility, self-responsibility to change this attitude. What is accepting responsibility? First step, stop the blame game. Because as soon as something goes wrong, first thing we do is, as soon as something good happens, the tendency is to take credit. As soon as something bad happens, the tendency is to show fingers. This is attitude. But real good attitude is that the sign of good leader is that when there is success, the leader is always in the background. He pushes all his teammates to the foreground. And says the success is because of them. But when there is failure, the leader is the person who comes into the forefront, faces the situation, and deals with it, and accepts full responsibility to it. Yeah, that is accepting responsibility. So basically, accepting responsibility and basically changing your attitude means first stop the blame game and take responsibility. So what is your attitude towards learning? So we discussed another bad habit is that I know it all syndrome. So I know it all syndrome. What is a change in attitude that is needed? I can listen to others' ideas too. Change in attitude. Inability in sometimes, especially when we know too much. This is one quality that really chases us long time. I know it all syndrome. We cannot simply listen to others. Yeah. But how do we deal with it? Change the attitude and say that I can listen to others' ideas too. Being accommodative of others' ideas. So inability in team playing, how do we handle that? We all need each other. Why do we all need each other? Because none of us are perfect. We all have our own deficiencies. None of us are made perfect. That's why we need each other. I quit the team. Yeah, this is how people generally leave. How do we deal with it? I will tolerate and watch. So this is how one deals with attitude. Yeah. Next. And so third one is change behavior. Thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors. How do we change behavior? It's simple. First, analyze what is right, choose the right, and give and make a disciplined practice. Like, for example, as I've said, there is some people have this behavior or problem of harsh speech. Yeah, they somehow speak very harshly or in a very cutting way, and in the process they hurt others. So how do you deal with that? So recognize that. Recognize what is the bad habit. Insulting speech puts off people and polite presentation conveys the point. Second, speak politely, henceforth. Yeah, what is the attitude that is needed? Change in behavior that is needed. Speak politely henceforth. And how do you actually put it into practice systematically? Take some kind of vows, like, watch my speech and give 3 compliments every day. Always make sure that you ensure that in a day, you at least give 3 compliments to people. That actually purifies one's speech. So there's this beautiful section in Bhagavad-gita which speaks about, how the austerity of speech. It's called Anudvegam karam vacham satyam priyam hitam chaye swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. So anudvega karam vakyam, that means the speech that is not agitating. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyam hitam chaye. Satyam means truthful, words that are truthful, priyam, that is very dear and loving. Hitam, that which are beneficial. And svadhyaya abhyasanam, that means Vedic study. All these things come under what? Austerities of speech. Vangmayam means speech. Tapa means austerity. So one should actually practice this austerity of speech. That's when one's speech becomes purified. Yeah, speech becomes controlled. And how do you practice? Speak words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, not agitating to others, and also regularly reciting Vedic literature. For a person who regularly recites the Vedas, or simply even recites the shlokas of Gita, or does a lot of self-study of Vedic literature, their speech naturally becomes very gentle, purified, and it does not hurt others. Yeah, that's a purifying effect of Vedic study. Person naturally becomes very soft, pleasant, truthful, and beneficiary in their speech. And it is said only person who can control their speech in the long run is qualified to become a leader. Yeah. Nectar of instruction, Upadeshamrita is the very, very first verse. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, udaro prastha vegam, etan vegascha vishaheta dhira sarvam apimam pruktim sashishyat. Person who can control all these vegas, the urge to speak, the urge of the mind, the urge of the genital belly, the tongue, who can conquer all these urges, that person is capable of becoming a leader and who can accept followers. This is what is stated in the Nectar of Instruction. So this is about speech and austerity of speech. So next. So that is how, that is why, as I said, the Vedic scriptures give a very holistic understanding of the principles of emotional intelligence. When we look into Vedas, we get answers to all of our questions, and these questions are answered in a holistic way, not in just the level of body and mind, but it is connected to the level of even in Atma, the soul. So I will tell here an interesting story, the story of Nachiketas. Once upon a time, there lived a boy. His name is Nachiketas. So this Nachiketas was a very sweet boy, and he had, and he was quite an inquisitive boy and a little talkative also by nature. And his father was very, very fond of giving a lot of charity. Every day he used to give charity, and there used to be people standing in a line from, in a big queue. Okay, so that year, again, Nachiketas. So that day, the father of Nachiketas was again giving charity, and it was almost becoming evening. So the boy was very inquisitive. He was going on asking his father, Father, are you still giving charity? Father, what else would you give in charity? And Father, would you also give me in charity? So he's asking all these questions. The father got irritated and said, if you don't keep quiet, I will give you in charity to somebody. So at that time, when he was giving charity, at that time, one Yamaduta appeared in the line. And he said, my dear sir, please give your son in charity to me. Then, a person cannot reject if somebody comes and asks something for charity. So having been asked by this Yamaduta, the father could not reject, and feeling so despondent and sad, he gives away Nachiketas, his son, in charity to the Yamaduta. So the Yamaduta takes the child and he goes to the Yamaloka. So, and when he goes to the Yamaloka, after few days, I think after 3 days or so, Yamaraj appears. Yeah, Yamaraj is the Superintendent of Death. So Yamaraj comes and says, oh, my dear Nachiketas, you have come. I have heard that you have come to our Yamaloka. I was not there to welcome you. I welcome you very lovingly. How are you? And he asks all the whereabouts, and he says, my dear boy, please tell me, what can I do for you? I will grant you 3 boons. Ask me for any 3 boons and I will grant you. So the boy then, this small boy, so he first says, thank you, my dear Yamaraj. The first boon I would want to ask is, my father should no longer be angry with me and I want to go back to my home. So Yamaraj says, okay, Tathastu, you're a very intelligent boy. You asked a very intelligent wish. So be it. Okay, now ask me for the second one. So Nachiketa says, okay, second boon. My dear Yamaraj, I have heard that all the people after death, many of them long to go to the heavenly planets for a lot of happiness. How does one go there? So Yamaraj was very pleased with his question. He said, good inquiry, because he is a superintendent of death. He knows all the nitty-gritties of what happens after death. So he says, yes, this is also a very wise question. I will tell you what to do to go to heavenly planets. And he tells him that these are the sacrifices you have to perform. These are the yajnas you have to do. This is the kind of lifestyle you have to lead. And he even instructs him in some of those yajnas that he has to perform to actually go to the heavenly planets. Then Nachiketas was very happy. Thank you, my dear Yamaraj. You have told me so many nice things. And I said, I have a third boon. Okay, I have another question to ask you. Yamaraj says, yes, my dear boy, you're very intelligent. I will try to answer whatever you have asked me. So the boy asks, my dear sir, I have heard some people after death, they go to a place from which they never return back. I have heard it is named Vaikuntha. And it is the best place to go even beyond this realm of Swarga and Naraka. How does one go there? Then Yamaraj was like perplexed. You're such a small boy. How come you're asking about such very grave questions? See, I will give you whatever you want. Ask me for fair maidens. Ask me for the biggest of lands to landscapes. I will make you the king of big territories. I'll give you the vast amount of riches, and I will give you the best women to be with. And all those things people long for, I will bless you in abundance. Take them, be happy, and go. But don't put me in a fix asking this question. Yamaraj says to Nachiketas. So but Nachiketa says, no. What is the point? Even if we go to Swarga, after sometimes again we have to go back to the Bhuloka. But if you're intelligent enough, we go to a place from which we don't return, where we are happy eternally. That is what I heard. Please tell me, how do I go there? So Yamaraj was very impressed by the boy's inquisitiveness and boy's urge to learn about the true knowledge. So Yamaraj begins speaking. He starts saying that, yes, in the material world, people run after those things which are themselves cause of suffering, and those which can free them, they hardly pay any attention to. Just like the firefly, the fire moths, knowing that this the light and heat that is emanated from the bulb will actually destroy them, but still they run, they chase, they run into them, and they get burnt in that fire. Yeah. Similarly, people run after sense gratification, chase after it. They work for it day and night, to make money and enjoy the comforts. But in the process, after some at the time of death, they lose everything, just like how this firefly is rushing to the fire and then burning its wings. So similarly, people are chasing after the material desires without understanding their true, what is their true interest. So this is how the material world is designed, my dear child. But you, being a very intelligent boy, has transcended that realm and are able to see higher and beyond this impermanence. And that is why you're asking me these questions. So this is true intelligence. And Yamaraj appreciates him a lot, and he gives him transcendental knowledge. So this is where the actual human life begins. The human life actually begins with these inquiries of a permanent realm beyond these temporary realms. that we are generally caught up with. So the day these questions begin, Athato Brahma Jignasa, that is when our human life has begun. And when we are, and of course, most of you have received the answers, how much we are following that is what determines, yeah, our advancement in our spiritual life. So, yeah, so that is how turning to scriptures gives us the roadmap to deal with these perplexities of life, just like how Arjuna has turned to Krishna to help him in distress. Okay, so that is all for today. So that is how self-regulation actually, as I said, in different wells helps a person in dealing with one's emotions and to project a behavior that is conducive and that is not, that does not harm others. Okay. So Vedic literatures advise that when one's mind is perplexed regarding duty and responsibility, one should definitely take direction from a higher authority. That is one of the signs of being self-aware. So that is why one should study Bhagavad-gita. Why? Before the Gita, Arjuna had all these symptoms, lack of confidence. He had anxiety, he was demoralized, he was in stress, he was in depression. But after he heard the knowledge of the soul from Lord Krishna, what was he? He was victorious. He fought. He fought with valor. He did his dharma. Yeah. And he emerged supremely victorious. So first he conquered the battle within himself, and then he conquered the battle externally. So it is most of the time people want to have a change of situation. But this is what Gita does. Gita does not change your external situation. It remains the same, but it gives you guidance how to face that situation. It empowers you to handle it and become victorious by first fighting the inner battle, and then with that empowerment to fight the battle that is external. Thank you very much. I will end the session today. So anybody has any quick questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Jyotsna.
Mataji, like what makes listening different from reading, Mataji?
What makes listening different from reading?
Different from, yes, Mataji, because it is advised Shravanam is most mandatory. Every day you must keep on listening to the spiritual lectures for some time. And Prabhupada also says that every day you need to read the scriptures also.
Okay, yes,
So,
Yeah.
if one listens, that is sufficient, or definitely one should read regularly and also listen regularly.
So you're asking the difference between Shravanam and Pathanam. So
Yes,
basically, Pathanam also comes under the concept of Shravanam itself. Yeah. When a person is prayerfully reading the book, let's say Bhagavad-gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, or any scripture, person is reading prayerfully, it is, you are actually hearing from Prabhupada. If you're reading Prabhupada's book, you're hearing from Prabhupada. And if you're prayerfully reading Bhagavad-gita, the verses, you're actually hearing from Krishna. So there is no difference between hearing and reading. And in fact, Prabhupada mentions in one of his books. In fact, here, prayerfully reading Srimad Bhagavatam comes under performing direct bhakti yoga. It's like you're worshipping Lord Krishna directly. So there is very deep significance of reading. It's not merely an eye exercise. Prayerful reading, it comes under Shravanam, active hearing. So there is no difference.
But Mataji, without listening from proper authority, if we ourselves keep reading, there is a misconception of understanding the things. There might be chance, no, Mataji.
Yeah, that's why we have to read purports. That is why Prabhupada has given his purports.
Okay.
Yeah, the purports are all what Prabhupada has spoken. And even after reading the purports, when we have some doubts, we have to clarify with our superiors. That's the process. So that is why we have so many Bhagavad-gita study circles, because it is not possible to understand on our own. And first of all, we don't have that regularity as our one of our predominant characteristics. Yeah, when we get into some courses. So that's when, it happens on a regular basis. We get the opportunity to interact with others and also hear some questions from the other side, perspectives, daily life applications. So that's the importance of joining the course. Like you have so wonderfully joined. I hope it has helped. We have done 7 chapters, right? So, I personally benefited a lot by doing my Bhakti Shastri, my studying, doing a systematic study of Bhagavad-gita under my teachers. The kind of learning is tremendous, the understanding, application, everything. It's I cannot compare it to my self-study.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hari Bol. So any other questions?
Sahasri has asked one question, Mataji.
Yeah, is there any other question? How can we build self-accurate awareness? Accurate self-awareness. Is that what the question is? Accurate self-awareness. Okay, accurate self-awareness implies the ability to understand your strengths and weaknesses. Accurate self-assessment, I guess, right? Sai Shri? Yeah, accurate self-assessment. So that's a very good question that you have asked. How to build accurate self-assessment? So that means, in other words, how do we analyze our strengths and weaknesses? How to analyze strengths and weaknesses is, there are 3 ways. One thing is, if you're really wanting to know, first thing is, you can ask the people who have been seeing you since long, like your own parents, your relatives, your cousins. If you have an elder brother or elder sister, ask her or him. They will give you a good list of what your strengths and weaknesses are. Second is self-assessment. You can take a deep inventory into your own self and sit with a pen and paper and write what your strengths and weaknesses are. It's a very good and important exercise. One can really do that and understand what's one's real strength and what's one's weakness. And especially a person who is taking this deep inventory, when a person is facing challenging situations, many of our weaknesses come face to face with us. That's when we actually have to fill up these journals of what our weaknesses are and try to handle them systematically. Then our life's journey becomes smooth. We don't complicate our karma. One of the beauty of this is, of understanding this knowledge is, we don't further complicate our karma. We ease things out and we are happy even in this world. So many people, because of lack of knowledge, they complicate their karma so much by the way they handle relationships, by the way they actually live their lives in such an unregulated fashion and react to situations and face their repercussions. Every action has its equal and opposite reaction. Yeah, you make the right choices, you make and you get good reactions to it.
Does meditation help us to achieve the same, like knowing inner self?
Yes. So your question is, meditation, does it help? Yeah, meditation is also a good exercise that it pacifies, or it makes the mind calm. Yeah, but how much can we carry that mindset all through? We cannot be in a state of meditation always, right? Meditation does help, but I'll tell you, what is meditation? It brings negative to neutral. But what we are talking about, yoga, is it's from neutral to even positive. So meditation is about, let's say in a classroom, there's a small child who's doing a lot of, here and there, a lot of ruckus. What do you tell the child? Sit at one place. But that's not the what is desired of the child, or that's not the outcome of good education. Good education is that a child actively learns something and puts it into use and builds on it and does something positive in life. Yeah. So just putting the child to one place, or sending the child out of the classroom so that the class is not disturbed. This is what meditation does. It just calms the mind. But higher than even meditation is, putting the mind in the right engagement. Yeah, so it's one step to neutralize the agitations of the mind, but higher than that is to engage the mind in something positive. So that's what Bhagavad-gita tells. Manmana bhava madbhakta madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mam evaishi satyante pratijani priyashne. Manmana bhava madbhakta means always think of me. This is the function of the mind. F of mind is to think of Krishna in Bhakti Yoga. That's the highest state. Yeah, meditation actually brings the mind to the neutral state. But what is a positive state? To be conscious of Krishna, to think of Krishna in bhakti, in devotion. That's a higher state.
Yeah, ma'am. Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hari bol. Yeah. Next question, Disha. Hare Krishna Mataji, you said not get easily offended by people. What if they cross their limits? Yes, it's totally understood. As human beings, we all have feelings, emotions. We are hurt when somebody speaks harshly. And you know something? It's not even us. Even the Lord gets hurt when somebody speaks harshly. I'll tell you the pastime. In his the Leela of Varaha Avatar, the Lord taking the incarnation of boar, Hiranyaksha. Yeah, he killed Hiranyaksha in that avatar. So Hiranyaksha, in the third canto of Bhagavatam, so beautifully the conversation is spoken. Hiranyaksha starts hurling such very insulting and provocative words. And at one point, Lord Varaha, he feels so pained at heart. Why is the Hiranyaksha speaking such harsh words? So the Lord, Supreme Lord, he's a person. He was also hurt by the words of Hiranyaksha. And after that, Varahadev kills Hiranyaksha. That's the next episode. But even the Lord feels pain when somebody speaks bad words. So being sensitive is not wrong. It's a part of human nature, not even human nature, it's even godly nature. So when somebody is offending us, how do we handle? First of all, understand that it's human nature to be hurt. Simple thing to do is to avoid their association. Yeah, and quit the place. Do not stay there for longer. That's a wiser thing to do. If you're Kshatriya, give them back. Yes, answer them appropriately so that it does not continue. Yes. So you need to be very wise to handle these, especially, this is again where emotional intelligence comes in. It depends upon how much resilience you have. Let's say if somebody is in a very very disturbed or irritable mood and they're just hurling daggers, that means that they're speaking very harshly. If you have that ability and capacity to handle it, what you can do is you can be calm, quiet, take it, and wait for the appropriate time to get back in a calm, composed, and poised way. The more the other person actually sees you calm, composed, and being equipoised, the rate of their irritability comes down. It comes down, it comes down, it comes down. So this is also the advice that is sometimes given to the couples. Sometimes couples are always fighting, the husband or wife, they're shouting at each other, both with, full level, full volume, high volume. Then what is the result? There is explosion. So there is one way, one suggestion that is generally given to this couple is that when one is angry, the other person should be quiet. Okay, they should simply take it. The agreement is that when this person is angry, the other person will be quiet and they will take it silently. And based on these agreements, many fights have actually come down. Yeah, when one person is on full fire, the other person agrees to be quiet and simply accept the ignored. This is between spouse, wife and husband. So, I don't know which person you are talking about, but generally, if you have that kind of an emotional resilience to handle it by staying calm and taking those negativity and still retain your positive demeanor, eventually and very miraculously, the other person will calm down. And more interesting than that, if you can have a sense of humor at that point of time, even that calms down. I mean, this happens in our lives. Whenever I'm angry, my husband cracks a joke, and somehow, the whole serious situation, it becomes so calm, and not just calm, but it becomes so light. So it takes a person to have a good sense of humor, to crack the right joke at the right time, not at the wrong time. So maybe these are some anger management techniques. Humor, a dash of humor at the most needed time. So all these are ways to handle such situations, people who are offensive. And if they're really offensive, you have to get off the place. Get out of the place. If you can't handle it, just get out of the place. Okay. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
Mataji, then it might be escapism, is it?
Which one? Aarti? What is escapism?
Like getting out of the place if we are unable to handle it. Like the line where to, if we are feeling offended, then to leave the place, or
Yeah. So this is what I said. I mean, I gave different levels. Yeah. Best thing is if you can confront, yes, go ahead and confront. If you're, see, there's a mode of, what do you call, response in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. Goodness is stay calm. Yeah. Do not lose your composure. Try to maintain that positivity all through. Yeah. Give that person chance to ventilate and then make your point. This is response in mode of goodness. Mode of passion, give back. Yeah, stop that person's offensive daggers, whatever the person is speaking. Try to give it back in a logical way. Ignorance, leave the place. But don't be a silent sufferer simply by standing there. that makes no sense, and hurt yourself and then cry about it. Yeah. So any of these are fine. I mean, these are the different ways a person can respond. As I said, the best is when the person can tolerate it, maintain the positivity, and actually act in ways that will transform the other person. If you're having such good qualities, that's amazing. Yeah. So
Thank you,
especially a devotee's what is expected of a devotee is that any amount of insult that is done to one, see, I'm talking at the level of Vaishnava, okay, a devotee. Any amount of insult that is given to oneself, one should tolerate. One does not, get back. Yeah, this getting back mentality is not a devotee mentality. If you see in the life of Srila Haridas Thakur, how much of offense was done to him? He was beaten up, but he did not go back. He did not get back to them. He has forgiven them at every point, and he, in fact, prayed for them. That's the Vaishnava response, very high level. Yeah, but what a Vaishnava should not tolerate is any offense that is done to other Vaishnavas, or any offense done to one spiritual master, or any offense to the Lord. These three things should not be tolerated. Nectar of Devotion states that if a Vaishnava has to be in a situation where these offenses are going on, they should cut off the tongue of that person. That's how much is expected of, retaliation is expected of a devotee. When there is a blasphemy of the Lord or the spiritual master or the Vaishnavas is taking place. Yeah, this is the higher understanding of Vaishnava principles. So it should be practiced with caution. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you all very much. So it was very nice discussing all these nice practical aspects and application. We will meet again next week. So next week we will get into the realm of social awareness. That's how our behavior should be in the society, and how to win good and long-standing relationships by having good emotional intelligence. One of the positive application of emotional intelligence is we win long-standing friends, and we win long-standing relationships, and we have more fulfilling relationships and lesser frictions. Okay, so thank you all very much. I'll be looking forward to meet you in the next session. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Disha. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you all. It was very nice to have you all. Thank you, Vishnu. Very sweet that all of you have come. Hari Bol. We meet you all next
Yeah,
time.
thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hari Bol.